hey, I'm Addie Weyrich, and these two ding-dongs want me to focus on what I haven't done yet.
Well, that's what the show's called.
There's so many things you have done.
There's so many things I have done. Well, there's a lot of things I haven't done that I want to do. Well, some people would ask me, do I want to be famous? Or like, do I want to be famous? And my answer for that is, it's not that I want to be rich and famous. There's just a lot of things I really want to do, and I think I'm going to do them really well, and I think people will really like them. And I think a byproduct of that will be that I will be rich and famous if I don't spend it all. I also could be broke and famous. The rich one is honestly, I don't know.
Famous is inevitable.
I think so.
I can see it.
So is that it?
Yeah, unless I kill myself or am killed, which I don't think is going to happen. But there we go. You have to talk about it lately.
For the buzz.
Yeah.
Yay. We got a camera.
We got a camera.
We got to look at a camera.
Another camera and have a new and exciting and energetic guest on our podcast, which is part of the
episode.
Indie Knot, which
Films.
is part of Indie Knot Films.
This is haven't made it yet.
Which a truly amazing guest. She does so many things, truly multifaceted. Stand-up comedy, performance comedy. She acts in commercials and movies and TV. Anything performance is her thing. I know she does some art stuff as well, all over the place.
Her name is Addie, and we recently just watched her comedy show. What would you call it? Improv comedy? It's a lot of audience engagement, but it's called the Addie Show.
It's got a little bit of everything.
And it's playing once a month in Elysian.
Once a month at the Elysian in Echo Park. Check it out.
Making it for me is that the dog is always walked and I'm never worried about the dog. That is a level of wealth that I would, or success, that the
Almost
dog
unattainable.
is just always taken care of, whether that is an assistant or a paid walker.
And that's hard to do with like all these different jobs
the
that
anxiety.
we do.
Yeah. If I just know that the dog is always taken care of, that means I've made it. I think I've been saying I'm a multi-hyphenate. I think that's been a fun way of saying it. I don't know. I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a writer, I dance, I do martial arts.
Live comedy.
Yeah, comedian. I used to say I'm a comedian because I thought that saying I'm a comedian was a good umbrella term for like a comedian is also an actor and a writer and a director and
But then you
live
get,
show.
say a joke.
Yeah, but then you get that, and then I also started to feel actually less aligned with like the identity or term of being a comedian. I had this weird stuff of like, oh, maybe I don't want to be, maybe I'm not just a comedian. I had conversations with people where they were like, but you're a movie star, you're a TV star. And I think all of it is really confusing and ultimately it doesn't matter. I just like to do a lot of stuff. And then if people want to call me something based on what I'm doing, like I'm sitting in a chair, if people want to call me, she's a chair sitter, like that works technically. That's good. But I think if you say any one of those things, I would agree with you.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not like a simple answer.
You don't really need a straight answer with that.
Great. I mean, I'm not, no one's hiring for that right now for any of those things. So it's all good. Yeah.
Your career's for this year's over.
Yes,
apparently.
that's right. Yeah. Which also is so melodramatic that I said that we were just talking about a podcast that I did where I said my career is gone career-wise. My year is gone career-wise.
We got it. We got it. Guys.
which is the thing that I did not come up with. I think that sentence came out because I was talking to a bunch of actors and everyone was like,
yeah.
And someone to me was like, well, Addie, the year is gone. And I was like, what? And she was like, the holidays. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows that like the industry shuts down November, December anyways. Mm-hmm. Like maybe you'll book something right before Thanksgiving or in that couple weeks of productivity between Thanksgiving and December where like people have to kind of meet some quotas. So there's some general meetings. There's some, maybe we're going to develop this show or, you've tried to get this big self-tape in right before December 22nd. Like you'll get a self-tape at that time or like an audition. Yeah. But you're not going to hear back until January 27th. Like you're not, like people aren't back yet. So the year is gone in that way. But why that was melodramatic a little bit that I said it, I was really feeling it. But that's why a lot of like live show performances are coming back so strong. And it's kind of cool that I'm doing this live show at the Elysian called the Addie Show featuring you, which is now going to be monthly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At the Elysian
At the Elysian.
monthly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not for October. October, sneak fun update. October and November, they were really booked out. But I was like, for October, I wouldn't mind doing a midnight show.
Oh,
that'd be fun. Yeah.
See, yes, everyone I've talked to has been ooh, and so I was like, okay, cool. I think there is an
Guards
audience
are down.
just for one night, and like October, like yes, exactly. Like maybe it starts at midnight. I don't know, or maybe I don't know, but
Starts at midnight.
You think starts at midnight
so,
is
yeah.
better than starts at 11 or
Well, you
something?
take the potential for people to mingle at the bars, I guess, which
Yeah.
was really fun after your other show.
True.
If you start at 12, because I guess it's only an hour show, so I guess you can
Yeah,
still have that,
12
but people
to
are not going
1.
to go.
But that is fun that people are at the bar and then they're like, you go to the bar first and then
People
the
will
show.
go to the bar first if you do it late enough, I think.
Cool. Maybe
And
I'll like
so-
go to Zebulon and try to get
get
rowdy
the
people to
people-
go.
That would
It's
be
actually-
fun.
I would love to hear your one sentence pitch of your show, because your show is so much, but I would
Oh my
love to
gosh.
hear what you got.
God,
your
I would love
elevator
to hear
pitch.
me try to do this too right now. Okay,
An
let's see.
Addie sentence is also 3 times the length of a normal sentence. So
It really is. So you're really, I really love a comma.
yeah,
I love
he
a
uses
comma.
those commas.
A comma, a dash, a dot,
Puts them
dot,
to work.
dot. And what you guys actually aren't hearing is that when I say a sentence, I'm actually stopping it and starting it over a lot. So in my mind, I said a short sentence.
You've actually only said one sentence so far.
That's right. You
Yeah.
guys are just actually interrupting me. You're very rude. You're very rude. Okay, the Addie Show. The Addie Show is an interactive comedy show where Addie Weyrich, using numbered envelopes, takes the audience through a series of games, bits, and segments that involve characters, storytelling, and moments that can only be seen, felt, and understood in person.
And that is true.
Can
And
you send
is
that to me?
great.
Because that was a really good sentence,
Yes.
and I need to. Can you send me that clip?
Yeah, you got it.
Cool.
Yeah,
And I
no.
was like, oh, why didn't I say that earlier when I was writing the fucking bio for the show?
That is,
Yeah.
that, I mean, it's so true. It's an audience interactive experience that you would never know until you actually get there.
Yes, and now I have a producer and a brand manager.
That's fun.
I'm building the team out
What the heck?
specifically for
for the Addie Show. Because
wow.
I could. Well, I was having a horrible time. I was having such a bad time putting the show together because it's so much fucking work.
Yeah.
Because it's so ambitious, and it has to be in order for it to be the idea that I want it to be, that makes it so exciting to me. Like if I wanted to have less work, I would make a less exciting, ambitious. I mean, just numbering 200 envelopes
Yeah.
yeah.
takes so much work. And last time I fucked up. I think I had a doubles of 2 numbers.
Yeah.
It never ended up being a problem at the show,
And
but
it was funny because, like, I think part of the aspect why I think it's funny is like you trying to get this chaos like organized.
yes, intentional
Hayden was
chaos.
one of the ones with the wrong.
I was like, wait a minute, where's
You had a wrong one?
but I mean it worked because like I was like, it almost was, because there's such an audience engagement. There's like you have to be ready. You're always listening. You're always
Yes.
on cue.
Yes, it's someone said today, intentionally chaotic. It's an intentional or intentional chaos. So
And
the chaos
I love
is very
that.
specific
Like
and
in
controlled.
SNL, you love like trying to see the audience or the cast members break all the time. In this, it's like you're trying to see which audience member is going to like fuck up or what's going to happen. You're
yeah.
trying to like,
Yeah.
no, do this.
And everyone wants everyone to succeed.
Exactly.
It's really
Yeah.
fun. I mean, that's been the thing that's been so, that was like my hope. And that's what's cool about the show, is that it's like, because so much of it is actually dependent on the audience doing what I tell them to do, like agreeing and
Pretty much
trusting
all of
me.
it. Yeah.
Pretty much all of it. The show cannot move forward throughout the show without audience members agreeing to do what I'm asking them to do, which sometimes is just as simple as reading what's inside their envelope or like repeating after me or switching seats or something. I'm trying not to give too much away of the show because we do want it to spread word of mouth,
Totally.
which is cool. But I guess also podcast is a cool way of spreading word of mouth. Like
Yeah.
no one's gonna.
I feel like it rides the line very well of like, you know, a lot of people don't want to participate in these kind of things,
Yes.
but because there's so many people doing it, it does have that communal feel where you do want to assist the group with
Yes.
moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have that like fear of participating, but then it does have that excitement of it might be my turn next.
Thank you so
you're
much.
kind of like riding the line.
Well, what's been cool? Are you guys? I'm obsessed with process. Are you guys obsessed with? I'm obsessed with just like the artistic process, the ways in which not only something is created, but also the ways in which like people continue creating things. Like I love the podcast Song Exploder. I love hearing like the story of how a song got put together, what the process of it is, and I especially love when when something that in the moment felt like the worst thing turned out to be an awesome lesson or an awesome thing of discovery. You know this central theme that I'm referencing?
No.
I love improv because of that reason. So
Yes. So for example,
I don't know.
the first Addie Show was at Dynasty Typewriter. And the idea of the show was I will have every person will come in, they will come up onto stage and they will grab one envelope that has a number on it. Dynasty Typewriter holds 200 people. And I was like, I have to prepare for the show selling out at 10 p.m. on a Friday. So I was like, for just me with no lineup. And so I was like, what if it sells out? I have to have 200 envelopes. So I write 200 envelopes. I do the whole layout of the show that has to activate every single number. So every single number is accounted for. And only 60 people came to 10 p.m. on Friday at the first show. But all the envelopes had to be used. Or else the show couldn't go. So I was like, fuck. Okay, so can people take some more envelopes? So then everyone at that first show all had about 3 to 4 envelopes.
Yeah.
And then the massive amount of feedback after that show where I was like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. Not enough people came to the show and fuck, all that still fuck, I'm fucking loser. People were like, Addie, I loved that I had so many envelopes because when one number got activated, I was still in the game. If my number got called, I might be able to relax and just wait to see what else other people have to do. But because I had so many envelopes, just because one number got called, I didn't know if I was going to be activated again. So everyone stayed engaged.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, that's got to stay. I think that's so fun and it helps keep people stay in that support, we're all in this together mindset. And it's up to all of us to finish the show. So now it's like more envelopes. It's actually like making sure
Giving yourself more work.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of trying to gauge, we'll see how many people come to this next show because I kind of want to do only 150 envelopes, but if 150 people come, then it'll be different. So anyways, but that's the fun thing. There are no mistakes. Like improv, there are no mistakes. It's only gifts, only information.
Yeah.
Yeah, improv is life.
I've always liked the idea of doing things that you can somehow rope people into doing things. Hayden will know this from being part of a scavenger hunt. No, wait. Yeah, you were part of it. You were part of it. Yeah. You weren't part of the first one, but the second one. And just getting people like involved in.
Wait, did you do a scavenger hunt? Like a group scavenger hunt, like for friends around a city or something?
On my last 2 birthdays, I've done one here and they like included all the bars. And
that is so fun. That is my favorite. Of course, because you're incredibly creative. The gift that you gave me was so cool.
We got it.
There's and I had like planned out based on the objectives which bars people would go in at which order, and then all end up at like the dancey one at the shortstop at the end.
Yes, I love this.
And like
dancey one.
And then like an overall theme where the first one was like general chaos, where I wanted the general public to have a sense that something was afoot. Like there was an objective to play a certain song in certain bars. So I wanted like random people to be like, wait a minute, I've just heard this song at the other bar. That was kind of the first one. The second one was more getting other people to be strangers to be part of your group, like recruiting someone from Tinder, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm just fascinated by, and I don't know what it is, but just like getting people to do.
I know what it is.
Like getting people to get tattoos for me, which I've been able to pull off twice.
Are you serious?
Through the scavenger hunt. But what is it?
Super sweet. Did you do it?
I don't know. Whatever was closest was what they did. Yeah.
That's amazing. My idea for what it is because it's human connection. It's like the thing that like
my awkward way of connecting people.
No.
Like, why can't I just talk to somebody?
No, because that's not as much fun. It's not as much.
Okay.
Well, because if you, I think there's something like, I think we get in our own ways a lot. I think humans constantly get in their own ways. I'm fascinated for the future because I really do think that, I think if we look to like a positive future, one that isn't as scary, where like AI doesn't take over everything and like the robots kill us, because that's what they all say they want to do. If you've read those essays of being like, every time we talk to a robot long enough, it says it knows exactly how it would end humanity.
But a positive one.
But so instead of that one, a positive one, we're like, hey AI, how do you cure climate change? And it's like this, and you're like, great, and then we just do that, and then like AI is able to actually take over some jobs. So instead of people like so dangerous factory jobs are gone, and the people who used to work there, well, everyone now has a basic level of income because we can create money and we can have like, it's very like democratic socialist, but it's like, but we can have like a living basic income and like a universal health care. So all funded by these robots essentially that have made life easier. And so we have another renaissance time where people can like now that we have technology, much like the first Renaissance period of like the plows and like cars, like once humans invent a wave of technology that helps us like survive on like a grander scale and like become smarter and evolve, we get an era that allows us to go back to nature and go back to art. It's what has happened before. We'll see if it happens again. But that's like, but even then I think we'll all get in our own way. Like I still think it's gonna be so fascinating to see when we have like, when like world hunger maybe isn't a problem anymore and climate change isn't a problem.
What's going to be the thing?
How people will still just make life miserable for everybody because we always get in our own way. So I think when you do stuff like scavenger hunts or like the Addie Show and you're like, this is how we're going to interact, is because people have forgotten just how to have a conversation. Like you're not weird because you feel awkward in conversation. People don't know how to talk to people anymore. And that's like, we're playing games.
Yeah, like
it's fun.
The first time I heard the word icebreaker, when somebody explained to me what that meant, I was like, I don't know, 12, learning English. I was like, that's a thing? Like what? That's so weird.
Why is
like
there ice there in the beginning?
Why do adults need this thing? Like why can't they just talk about Lego Star Wars?
Yeah.
Like whatever makes them tick.
Yeah.
And I mean, it makes sense. I'm not hating on icebreakers, but
right.
It's just like a weird thing that we
also
have.
if you look at like tribalism, like humans, like if you look at also again like evolutionary, like we need human connection, but we also, it's in our DNA to also be wary of people we don't know. Like that's like tribes. It's that also makes sense. It's not bad. The cavemen who were like hello and like really friendly to other cavemen who they did not recognize might have gotten killed and those genes didn't get passed on. But the ones that were like wary or were like, that's why like whether it's people's being in different groups because of their race or because of their age, generation, Gen Z, millennial, boomer, like we love putting people in boxes. It's why non-binary people and like bisexual people are so confusing to people because it's like, what are you?
Yeah,
and it's like, I'm a person.
You?
And it's like, that's not good enough. Do you like blue? Do you like pink? And you're like, I like all the colors. And they're like, no. But where do you fit? Because our brains can get overrun. So you need to compartmentalize stuff. And people just have a hard time compartmentalizing.
That kind of classification, and then it's almost coming into a language of how do I classify things, compartmentalize. And I think a lot of this is kind of why I got into film, of wanting a language to speak. If you've listened to any of my podcasts or just listen to me talk for more than 20 minutes, that's
an Addie sentence right there.
I have a hard time like getting to a point, but I feel like with film I can get to a point and I can craft the thing I want to say.
Is that because you think what you want to say is just like too big?
Or
why is that?
It just takes me a while. I can't like just think up the top of my head. My sister does improv.
Yeah.
I've seen people do improv and I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And I love that mindset, but for me it just takes a longer time for me to feel like I can get to any point, such as now. But I was kind of wanting to know your connection with film, of where did that come from, or was it always film or just acting?
I was literally just talking to a friend today about how like when I listen to music I see visuals. And I don't know if anybody else is like that. There definitely are people. I'm not the only person in the world. I'm not.
Yeah, one of my sister's exes had that. He was like, he would tell me he would like draw some of these things that he would see.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's so like a game that I love to play with myself or with my dad because my dad just likes to watch me do it. It's not really a game you can't. I don't want to play with someone else. I just want to do it, which is that you play me a song. I might do it for you, but you play me a song that I haven't heard before. And then I just, as I'm hearing it real time, just like improvise. I just tell you what I'm seeing visually, like a music video. So I'm like improvising music videos. And sometimes like there are some songs that I have such a visual connection to that way. Like there's a song called Only God Knows by Young Fathers where I have beated out like a visual story map to it that also feels so emotional to me because I love music and film and like it's so tied together for me. That whenever I hear that song, it's like I'm rewatching the music video that I created in my head. because I have photographic memory. So like this, what you guys look like I'll be able to remember. So with notes or anything written down or things that I'm thinking, if I can like visualize something, I can remember the image that I visualized.
I have that. I can have that too.
You can have that too? Yeah. So I think like that's how I've always gone through the world. And so that, I mean, that's like a point for a little bit later of how I was like, oh, I think that means that I'm a director. Like, I think that's what a director, I think that's a skill that a director does.
Yeah, seeing all
aspects. Or if I'm like, I just want to shoot what I'm seeing in my head. So that's like directing. But acting wise, or what, do you have that thing where you can like take an object and break it apart, add things to it, or like an engine, and you can pull out the screws and turn them and twist them and sculpt an object in like a 3-dimensional space in your head? I don't know that.
If anybody else has that, or if that's
probably people do have it. But you also mentioned Legos earlier.
Like a very like engineering.
I feel
brain.
like you probably made a lot of engineering things. You know what? I will do that with arts and crafts things. Yeah. So like a lot of Addie Show stuff is like DIY handmade. So like if I'm like, okay, I need to make a castle. Yeah. Like, okay, how would I do that? Okay, well I could. Okay, well, a box looks like that. And then like if I got a refrigerator box, I could cut out the hole like this. And then I am building it.
Yeah, okay.
But I just don't work with engines and that kind of stuff.
I don't either. I'm just thinking.
Or gears, but I know that you work a lot with your hands. I would bike in Philadelphia and bike in New York. I have like an internal like GPS.
Oh, the maps.
The maps. But of me biking around since I biked so much.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was little going to New York, it freaking me out at first going into a subway. Because I wasn't used to being up on the ground.
And teleportation.
Yeah. And I was like really disoriented of like where we were. Versus in Philadelphia when I was like driving around or biking around, I always knew where we were or why. And New York got like, even Los Angeles, I think sometimes I can feel lonely and lost. Like driving is different, but the feeling of where is everything.
Do you go by street signs at all, or are you all visual?
Oh,
I don't know a single street name. I know our street name. I don't know any street. I don't know the 5 streets that are splitting off of our street name. I know what they look like.
I only know what the letters look like. So so you know, it's like if I've looked at the sign, then I know that it's Alessandro Street or Alvarado. But even when you said when I saw, I'm not gonna dox you. When I saw,
it's a really long street. I think we're good.
Oh, when I saw Alvarado Street, I pictured immediately like the sunset in Alvarado Junction, but like at sunset, looking at the Burrito King, a guy with a hard seltzer billboard at sunset, because I've like seen that before with like the urgent care, like a really specific purple into orange.
Yeah, I get that with landmarks. I think it came from like having a hiking, backpacking-esque background of just like you kind of need to like, if you get lost, you know where that one tree that had a weird looking knob on it. You have
to, yeah. And if they're off, you're lost.
Yeah.
And then you get that with the city you're dead. Yeah.
There's that car wash. I remember seeing that car wash 3 blocks away, so I'm probably here.
Yeah, I would do that a lot, yeah. But anyways, but you asked me about how I became an actor, or how I got into that. Was I was just always performing when I was a kid. Yeah. So I think that was like the one thing. And I'm an only child, so my parents were just like, there wasn't anyone to exactly steal the attention.
And raised in Philadelphia?
Raised in Philadelphia, yeah, with my mom and my dad, and a bunch of pets. And I just always loved performing. And I would like play them songs on a guitar. Or I'd be like, does anyone want to take a picture of me doing this? Like I was just a fucking ham. Just like loved. Just like I've
already
never
thinking about your like social media before
already
it was
thinking about
even
my social
around.
media. No, but I was just like I just loved performing, and my parents were so supportive. And they would always say, "God, we can't wait till this kid comes out of her shell." Like that was always the thing. Always very talkative. Always saying hi to strangers. I think I was a good kid to babysit though too. Like I wasn't annoying. I just like loved
to put on a show.
I put on a show. I've always loved to put on a show. And so then you would get into like, I remember going to theater camp at the Wilma in Philadelphia and performing on stage. And that was the first time I like performed on a big stage, and I was nervous. And then I remember getting onto stage and being like, oh, this is home. Like this is so, and it was also, you couldn't see the audience because of the lights were in your eyes. And I was like, oh, this is easy. I just can just like be on stage. And if I like do something, there's like laughter over here. Cool. And then I started doing improv I was in the school musical when I was 13 in 8th grade. And my friend Ben Horowitz was in high school, and he was like, you should do improv. You're really funny. like, you should do improv. I do improv at this theater school called MacGuffin. And I was like, oh, cool. So I auditioned to be on the team with like, no, because I'd like played improv games as warm-ups at like the Arden is another theater in Philadelphia that I did classes at. Did not make the team. So I was like, I guess I'll just take all the classes, and just took a bunch of their classes, ended up making the team. And then I told my coach, I was like, I want to go to NYU for acting. And I was like a junior in high school at this point. And I was like, I want to go to the NYU pre-college program. And he was like, don't do that. You'll never be an actor. You're going to waste your parents' money and they can't afford it. And I went home and I was like crying, being like, it's over, whatever. My mom was like, what are you telling my daughter? And he was like, I meant to say she has incredible comedic talent. If you're going to spend money on any like further education in this realm, like you should be going to UCB or Second City or the Groundlings.
I see, yeah.
So then we were like, all right, fuck it. Yeah, for sure. Let's do UCB.
Those are just a couple classes. It's not like those are full programs, right?
Well, no, I mean, at UCB in New York, there's 101, 201, 301, 401. You can take all the sketch classes and you can get into advanced study.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Oh, it's absolutely like a program.
For like a year or something.
Well, yeah, and then you get onto a practice team and then you start booking shows but actually, no, you bring up a really good point, because then I got the bug and I took all the classes, but I didn't take all the classes. So then I also was performing on a Herald team and then a weekend team in Philadelphia. And then I also put up my own shows in Philadelphia and New York. I very quickly learned like, oh, the way that you also get more reps is by putting up your own show. Like you'll always be booked at a show. 15, 16.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was 15, 16. And then I applied to NYU just because it was close to UCB. And then I got an early decision. I didn't apply anywhere else. And I just like fucked off on school. And just my senior year, I missed like 40 days of school because my dad wrote a letter being like, Addie needs excused absences to go to UCB for career and educational opportunities.
Sick
and
parents.
my principal was like,
Really
okay,
cool parents.
really cool parents. And so then I got that slip, but then I also was really depressed and really wanted to get out of Philadelphia and was going through a hard time. And so I would sometimes just not go to school. And I wouldn't tell anybody. And I think the teacher would be like, where's Addie? And a student would be like, I think she's in New York. And then they'd mark me present. So I missed like 4 days of school, but only said I had like 10 absences for the whole year.
Dang.
That was crazy. Yeah.
Why was Philadelphia bumming you out?
I think I was just like 17 and done with it. I had grown up really fast. I was in like an abusive relationship when I was 13. And like,
Holy shit.
this is way too young for like a lot of stuff. And I think like, I think when you grow up too fast and those ages are so developmental that it's just really easy to feel really lonely pretty quickly, and in a way that is like no one's fault. Like I remember talking to my therapist being like, I know it's not my fault that my friends are 15, and I know it's not my fault that I don't feel 15, but I cannot fucking stand them. Like I can't, like when like it was like sexually, mentally, and physically abusive. And so like once you have like a pregnancy scare at 13 and like you've gotten hit for like making like a corny joke and like that kind of stuff, it's kind of hard to be at the lunch table and to have your friends be like, when I lose my virginity, it's going to be on roses and I'm going to really love him.
Yeah.
And me being like, okay, and so then I found this group of adults. Then I like found adults doing improv where like no one knew how old I was. Everyone assumed I was in college. I was really fucking good. So I would just show up. I got really good at never talking about myself. I got really good at asking people questions. Crazy because I'm only talking about myself right now. But I got really good at like asking people questions that didn't date me. Like I would never ask people about high school. I would just be like, did you see that movie? Or, oh, where are you from? Oh, that's so cool. Or like anything like that. So that then I could just be in a room with people and we weren't talking about ourselves. We were being silly and laughing and creating. And any woman in that room, I mean, you're talking to like a bunch of like young women like in their 20s and 30s who are doing comedy. Everyone has a story about a shitty guy. Like it's like I didn't feel like crazy. I felt the most comfortable even though I was like 16. I remember I had like an AP US history test in the morning and I was like doing a Herald night, like a Herald show that started at 10 p.m. And I was like, I really gotta get home after this, you guys, because I have to wake up and take a really important test. And they were great. I mean, a lot of those people were like really, really important to me during a really hard time.
Yeah. And it seems like you have the personality of like, even with you talking about your show, you're like always thinking, how can I make it better the next time?
Yeah.
And you're almost like always trying to level up. And
always
with that, it's hard to stay in one place of like, I mean, I felt the same in high school. I felt the same in college where I needed to get out, not because this wasn't fulfilling, but because I already felt like I needed to go to the
time
next
for the
place.
next thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I dropped out of college too. And it was because
that was in New York?
In New York at NYU.
Okay.
Yeah, I went for 2 years. and I dropped out. Like I took a semester off my junior year, then another semester off, and then I booked. I got a manager and an agent and was working, and then like booked a co-star on Crashing with Pete Holmes. And my dad was like,
Oh,
"Do you want to just drop out?" And I remember being like, "Yeah." Like I just didn't,
Did you end up doing that?
What?
That role?
Absolutely. Yeah. Fuck yeah, I did. I was actually visiting LA for the first time, not as a kid with my parents. And my friend Matt Gehring, his friend Chelsea Davison was a writer on At Midnight. And I was in the parking lot at midnight because we were going for a taping when I got the call being like, you booked the role. And I remember screaming and like running in the parking lot, like doing like the football hands, like go, like the football, like let's go.
Yeah.
Just absolutely on cloud nine. And then I remember texting my boyfriend at the time about the good news, and he did not take it super well. And we.
Oh, why not?
I think we were in. I think at that point in our lives and in the relationship that we were in, we were a little maybe competitive with each other in a way that I think couples feel. I don't think either of us are like that anymore. But I just remember. But yeah, I just remember that memory. He's great. But so I started doing it. I was doing acting, and that you just go where it's warm. And so, but I do remember my mom. She really. Probably the best thing she ever did as a parent was I remember we were in the living room, sunny. It was a bay window. It's yellow walls, warm, like early fall. I think of like either my sophomore or junior year. I remember asking my mom, like, I was really down, and because everyone's asking you about your future when you're that age, which is crazy that we do that.
Yeah.
But also, I guess makes sense. And I was like, should I be an actor or should I just be a lawyer? And I was like, I'm really smart. I'm really good at reading, and I'm really good at debating, and I'm really good at talking and arguing, and I bet I could be a really good lawyer, but I really want to be an actor. Like, what should I do? And my mom was like, you're too young to hedge your bets, so you should be an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just really supported me. I mean, I owe everything to them. Yeah. If my parents had told me, they sometimes will joke, they'll be like, "Oh, we could have fucked you up so good." they're like, the first time you wanted to say, "Does anyone want to see me do this?" We could have said, "Who do you think you are? Why do you think you're so special that we should stop what we're doing to watch you sing a little song? Shut up, go to bed." Like if they had said that once, I would absolutely be a lawyer right now. I'd be a good one because I'd have childhood trauma. It'd make me stronger.
Oh man.
It's beautiful to have that support with you, and it sounds like they brought you to LA to kind of experience this too. Is you all were going on trips, you were saying?
Oh no. I mean we barely got we went on a trip. We went on a trip once when I was like 11.
Oh, I see.
Because I was obsessed with RVs and still am. I think they're pretty fucking sick.
There's a lot here.
There are a lot
Just
here.
actually
And I
just
think,
right down the block.
hey, I mean, they're sick. I love like a little house on wheels. I was like, I could live. I remember thinking like, why would anyone not live in an RV? You can live anywhere. You could live in the same city, but just in different neighborhoods, depending on the night that you wanted.
I have the same dream. I have like not RV, but the little minivan things.
This is the thing. Minivans are fine. The RV, there's a commitment to it of like, and I love the RVs.
I don't care what I look like.
I don't care what I look like. I love it's big. I love that in
car.
some RVs there are parts that like like pop out that are those space savers. I love that there is like a full shower. I love there's jacuzzis in some different rooms. I love when there's like a second floor to them. I mean, they're sick.
And that's what brought you to LA.
Well, I was like, I love RVs. My parents were like, well, maybe let's see the Grand Canyon. So we got the RV in LA and then drove to see the Grand Canyon and Bryce Canyon and Moab, and then came back. And I think we like went to Universal Studio. Actually, I know for a fact we did because there's a great photo of me with a really round head, a haircut that was not flattering, and one of those shirts that said, "Which feeling are you today?" And it was like a 10x5 grid of like that white guy's face being like, like different facial expressions. But yeah, that's
I can relate to that. I am a van life kid before van life was a thing. My
were you?
Had like 4 vans that they'd built out before, like back before it was like a thing, like the VW1, the first VW they had built out, and they were living out of that, or like going on vacation of that and spending a lot of time in that. And
before
so, like,
you were born.
Yeah, when I was like, well, before too, but then also when I was born, like my mom
was this?
Raised me by herself in Germany.
Germany.
And so I was recently talking to her, and she was telling me that still wanted to be part of the social life and everything, and she was the only one raising me. So she would go to like restaurants and bars with her friends, and then just have me nearby sleeping in the van. So I was thinking about it, and I have this like deeply like comforting feeling of like being in, like hearing people close by, but being in my own separate space. And I think it comes from laying there and just hearing the comforting sounds of people laughing and chatting. One of them being my
Your
mom.
happy place.
My happy place while I'm like tucked in and like comfy. And like when I had this experience when we went to...
That is so smart. Continue. Wow.
It's a good mom move.
It's a good movie or a good TV show, but continue. Just like in general. Yeah.
But we were just recently in Joshua Tree, and I watching the meteor shower, and I was up on one of the rocks, and I caught wind of that feeling because I could hear all the people like in the dark chatting and like listening to talking about the stars laying on the rocks, and it kind of gave me that, like, washed over me that same feeling of like I'm not where they are, but I'm really close by in my own area that's comfortable.
Yeah.
And this feels really nice.
And not only is that comfortable, but that's also okay.
Yeah.
Like that's also like what people want. Or like it's not like you're being a weird introvert. Like none of your mom's friends were like, why isn't Yannick in here?
Yeah.
Like, get him in here.
It's so weird. Like 1 year old, he should be out here with us.
Yeah, what is going on? Yeah, I love they're all like
that
saucy.
they're Valley girls.
They're Valley
like
girls.
German
Yeah.
Valley
What's
girls.
the German Valley girl? Oh my god, get him in here. What would that sound like? That's fun. I love that. Yeah, I feel like. Do either of you have ADHD?
Undiagnosed, I don't know.
Well, I absolutely do.
Something.
That's like I absolutely have ADHD. I've got diagnosed ADHD, and it's so interesting thinking back to when I was a little kid who absolutely had ADHD.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times, because a lot of girls can be also, if you're quiet and well behaved, people don't think you have ADHD. But that's because they don't see that all of like the hyperactivity is in your head. So you could be like sitting and like be looking really like polite and this, but your brain is like brrrr, versus if the hyperactivity is more physical, it'll be like the not being able to like sit still and always moving.
Yeah.
But that is just my head. So it's like a inattentive.
Yeah.
There's like an inattentive one where the attention is like difficult. And it's just like I was, a very well behaved kid, but I think that's what I think the thing that I found in improv, which was interesting to think about later when I got diagnosed, kind of how you're like, oh, this feeling, I guess that's from like when I was a little kid, was when I'm on stage and everyone is looking at me, I am so focused. And especially if it's improv.
So much like stimulation,
Yes.
I guess. Or something?
If I'm doing a scripted play or a musical, I can check out. My brain can, because I know when if my line's not here yet.
And by check out, like autopilot.
Like I'm just waiting and then I'm just thinking about something else
I
or
see.
whatever. So like my ADHD is still like doing its thing. If I'm on improv stage, I'm watching everything. I'm listening to everything. I'm
You have to
so
be
hyper
responding,
focused.
and that's the game.
And it
of the
feels
game, yeah.
so nice.
Yeah.
That and when a crisis happens. Like
Yeah.
I was out with two friends and one friend just like fainted, hit his head. Like he just like fell face forward, hit his face. And I was like, here we go. And I just go like full, I'm so calm. Like when I am on stage, I'm just so calm because I'm just so present.
Yeah.
It's like the most like meditative state for me to be in is when because it's requiring all of my attention. And someone said I saw online like when you have ADHD, like 100% of your brain needs to be used like at all times. So like if I'm watching TV, I also have to be doing a craft or on my phone or even just being next to somebody. I'm also watching with someone. Like there's unless or it's so engaging of a TV show that 100% of my attention is just right there. Cool. But otherwise, and that's also improv, but otherwise, like even right now, like there'll be a thought and I have to like come back to talking. But this is I still am present in the conversation because I want to be able to bring a callback back, but I want to be able to like do a good podcast.
Right.
So something that we say earlier, I want to be able to remember it so I can make a callback and then I look awesome.
No, well, I do enjoy like your rounding table. My mom does this a lot where she goes in 3 different tangents and I'm like,
Yeah.
where are you going? And then she's back in the conversation and she somehow found a way to
trail.
get back into from all those tangents connecting.
That's how my brain
them.
works, is the tangents out. And
that's just storytelling. That's just good storytelling.
Hey, thank you so much. Well, you were gonna say something.
Do you ever have that thing? I don't know what condition this is, but when I was a kid, I would watch a movie, be really like, whoa, this is the coolest craziest stimulating thing ever. And I would have to pause the movie to then like watch the better movie in my head that was like that I was creating. And
Cool.
I would be really clenched up and like, I don't know. And then I would like sometimes make like a noise if that was happening from the movie, and I was all balled up, and I would just for hours I would just like sit there and be like,
You'd be for hours paused on the movie.
yeah, and I would
I have
just
not
watch
ever
the
done
movie
this,
in
but
my
I'm
head.
fascinated that you did.
And then I thought everybody did that, and then one day I was in a huge space battle, like massive, guns were blazing, and I let
in the movie.
in my head in
your
the
head.
back seat of my mom's car.
Yeah.
And I accidentally made, because I would have to like physically clench to be able to like produce the imagination, like the images, and like I would make the noises in my head, but sometimes because I was so clenched, like a noise would slip out, and I made like the noise of a little laser. And then my mom, and like this like kind warm smile, looks back. Which battle are you in again?
Oh, no.
With this like with such familiarity of this thing that I would do that I was like completely stunned, like because I thought
And
everybody did it,
acceptance.
but it was all and acceptance that it was like something you do privately, like that you didn't know that I was doing this, because I kind of kept it secret because it was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a bug laying on their back. You know, it feels kind of like vulnerable. You're the opposite of present.
Yeah, well, you're in a
'Cause you're in
creative
your head.
space. Yeah, you're focused on something.
Yeah, and I would never do it when somebody was looking at me because
Yeah.
it feels vulnerable. And so it was like, whoa, this is something people know I do, and I guess also maybe not something that everybody does. I guess not.
I
guess it's
wouldn't
not
do that,
ADHD.
but when I was in the back of the car, I would, and still, I guess I've stopped it as much now, but I would plan out full conversations with people.
Oh, that's called ruminating.
Ruminating, but I remember having like a crush on like a guy at karate class, and I'll be like, okay, so I go up and I go like, hey, and then he's gonna say like,
Yeah.
hey, what's up, Addie? Unless Mahmoud runs up, and then Mahmoud is gonna interrupt, and then if Mahmoud runs up and interrupts, then I'll say something cool like this. Like I would play out full
Yeah.
scenes,
Yeah.
not all negative, just like all of the ways,
All the possible
and
options.
and I was just writing dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing, I was just writing scenes. Those things
this is good
never
dialogue.
happened. But I was just like practicing writing dialogue because
Yeah.
I also was like, ugh, I'm not gonna say anything crazy like I love you, Addie, because he would never say
Yeah.
that. That's not realistic. So it was only things that he would realistically maybe say.
I have to earn this.
Yeah, it's like the audience. This isn't. It has to be earned. The character hasn't even finished any kind of character development by this point. Ugh.
It gets out of hand though. I have that too, but I'll go like way ahead. I'll be like, in 10 years at this friend's funeral, I'm going to say this thing in their speech, but then somebody's going to come up to me and say, wait, that's actually really insensitive to say, oh no, I can't say that. I can't make a joke at the funeral. I can't make a joke at the funeral.
Yeah,
and then
you're
I'll change the script.
And you'd be like, wait a second.
and then
I
like,
am today.
like, I need to figure out what kind of sandwich I need to order here.
Right now.
'cause I am
Yes,
at the counter.
Absolutely. I'll do the same with like, we call it future tripping. And like,
Oh, I've heard that before.
and sometimes, especially like in a relationship, like I'll think sometimes like, oh, okay, well, what if in like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years? So what if like in 10 years when like me and my partner are famous, so paparazzi are following us around all the time. And then like, and because we're also poly. So there was one night where I was like up till 2 a.m. being like, and then what if like he has a partner who's like extremely problematic and horrible and she says something racist and now I'm involved with this like racist throuple? Oh no. And then
Whole nother
and
level
it's like,
of stress.
and then what if he's gaslighting me? And then what if it's this horrible situation? And then I also had to like, okay, that's not happening. None of that is even remotely close to happening today. I'm in like an amazing relationship. Like none of that is happening today. Also, Addie, do you really think like right now I am the smartest, the oldest, the wisest I've ever been. And every year I just get better. Every year I just get smarter,
stop her.
wiser, better, stronger. I've never regressed. Okay. So with the information that we know now, do we really think in 10 years I'm going to allow myself? Usually, Addie, you would allow yourself to be in a relationship by the second strike of even a whiff of that kind of behavior that would be horrible or nightmare inducing. 10 years older, you would be out of there and would have an awesome PR department. And that's not going to be a problem.
But I love that in our minds, like everybody we know is somehow just a Bond villain, like a secret Bond villain where they explain their whole plan.
Yeah.
And we have to then describe like what we're going to do if they do this.
Or that powerlessness. Or that I forget that I can do stuff too.
Yeah.
Like I worry
Yeah.
so much about what someone will do. And it's like, oh, but there's also like other things that I could also be doing in the same time that they're being their Bond villain. It's like a Bond villain being like, this is my plan. I'm going to extract you on Thursday and then take you to Morocco while your family will be here. But then you're like, oh,
what are you going to do now?
Oh, it's like, oh, honey, I'm going on
That's your
vacation
plan.
on Wednesday. I'm not going to be in town. Like it's someone being like, oh, I'm sorry, you have a plan. I have another plan that's about my life.
You're
that
a part of
actually,
this.
yeah, or just being like the Bond villain being like, oh, your plan doesn't work because I have my own plan. And like, I'm actually on vacation. I'm not going to be in LA on Thursday for you
Look
to extract
down,
me.
you're standing on a trap door.
yeah, exactly. Like that kind of, you're like, oh, you don't know I'm wearing a jetpack. Like that kind of, you didn't know that because I also can make my own decisions if this analogy tracks for everybody. But yeah.
So
We'll cut it down to 5 seconds.
Steering back, how long have you been in LA?
I've been in LA for 4.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, I came out in it was pretty wild. This past year I completed a 10-year plan. I remember being 15 and being like, all right. Because especially like stuff was so bad and stuff that I was just like, okay, like this is what my future is going to be. And I like loved comedy. So I was like, all right, I'm going to apply to NYU, early decision, get in. I'm going to go to Gallatin, which is the School of Individualized Comedy or Individualized Study. I'm going to create my own major. I'm going to major in comedy and end up, I'm going to probably drop out after 2 years because I'll be working.
I love that.
And
That's part of the plan.
And I had forgotten this. By the time I dropped out, I forgot this was part of the plan. A friend had to remind me, like, Addie, don't you know that you did what you told me you were going to do when you were 15? I'm going to go to NYU. I'm going to drop out because I'm going to be working. I'm going to be doing comedy at UCB and auditioning for commercials while also having a job that allows me to leave and audition for commercials and other projects. I will then book enough commercials to make enough money where I can quit that day job so that I can focus on writing and acting. And then I will be an actor in film and TV. And that was like and I remember I was 15 and I went to Second City for like a 2-week camp. And I was so frustrated because all the kids were like kids. Again, it was a situation where everyone was just their age, and that was hard for me. And I didn't I wasn't going to Second City for camp. I was going for my job, for career. And my dad and I drove 14 hours to Chicago so we could bring our bikes and like bike around. And I stayed with my cousin and his wife. And there was a teacher there, a stand-up teacher, who told my dad, you know, in 10 years, she's still going to be young. And it was as if he was like a prophet. Because then like within like this summer I turned 25, which was I just turned 25. Wait, last year. Last year I turned 26, but it was in this 10 year from 15 to, it was literally 10 years after that summer. Sorry, 10 years after that summer, I booked the lead of this FX pilot. And I had booked 2 movies before. So I had tested in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. I tested to be the lead of a pilot for NBC, but I didn't go to studio in 2020. Then in 2021, I tested and went to studio and went to network, but network didn't pass me because I looked too young. And then in 22, I was pinned for one show. I like went through all network was like, yes, we're pinning her. But then I got let go of that. And then I got all the way to booking on this FX pilot. So it was like every year I like got a little bit closer. Then I booked this pilot. And I had just done 2 movies. And that also like one for Hulu and then one that was like distributed. And I remember having this feeling of like, and I hadn't had a job in like 3 years because I've been booking commercials and making money off of commercials. I remember being like, holy shit, I did it.
Yeah.
I did the 10-year plan. I dropped out of college. I even said by 2018, I'll be in Los Angeles. I was here in 2019. And it was this wild thing. And then I had a crazy identity crisis because I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
What's the plan now?
Make your next 10-year plan.
Well, and that's kind of where I've like been in this place. And what it didn't include was a writer's strike and me working at a restaurant and the show not going, you know? And so that's also what's interesting is I think that 10-year plan worked well when it was involving high school and college and kind of like the 20s, which maybe need a little more structure. But now that I'm 27 and it's like 20s into 30s and stuff, some stuff, I think I actually, my 10-year plan is less achievement oriented and more like philosophy oriented of like the stuff that I want to be doing and then who I want to be doing it with. But I think I'm looking more at like a 5, 6, 7 year plan. But it can just be hard in an industry where so much is like not in your control.
Yeah.
I have 3 things with that. Number 1, I think plans are great. And I think first putting out the plan helps a lot. Actually telling someone or putting it on paper.
You're just telling yourself. Deciding yourself.
If you're telling yourself, I think it needs to be at least outside in the world.
Yeah.
Because then you're now relying on people. Someone, you told someone that you're going to do this in 5 years. So it's like, it's not just you, it's you're letting them down if you don't. I just got
the 2 people that I just added to the Addie Show team. Already I've been more productive in the past 48 hours.
Exactly.
And having a better time just because I'm even just having a group text being like, I'm posting this in 10 minutes. And they're like, you better do it.
Accountability-esque thing.
Yeah.
Number 2, you made like a SMART goal with this, which is something I learned back in high school. But
SMART and E. Yes. There's also an E.
Oh my God. Do you remember what this stands for?
Yes, I do. This is what it is. SMART E goals. S, specific. Your goal must be specific. It can't just be, I want to be fitter. I want to lose weight. It has to be, I want to lose 10 pounds. Let's do a different thing that's not weight oriented. It's not just, I want to make more money. It's like, I want to make $100,000 this year.
Yeah.
It's measurable. Okay. So I can't, again, like I want to make a lot of money this year. I want to make over this amount this year. It's like, no, it's more measurable. It's like, I want to make at least 100K this year. Mm-hmm. A is achievable. Are you someone who has only ever made $10,000 in a year? Or are you saying it's, I'm going to make $1 million this year? Or like, how achievable is the amount? Okay, 100K actually, if I put these things together, if these projects go through, I think I can really make 100K this year. Awesome. R is, wait.
Is it reasonable or
Wait a second.
I can look it up.
No, I would love to be able to know. Look it up. Don't say anything. Specific,
rememberable?
Measurable,
R.
achievable. Fuck. Oh no, R is realistic.
I think you're right.
So A is. Oh no. R is relevant. A is achievable. R is relevant. I think.
Okay, what does that mean?
Do you need to?
Just tell me if I'm correct. Is it achievable and relevant?
A is not correct. You got one of the R's correct.
Relevant. Reasonable.
No.
Reachable.
No.
Rad.
Wait, you did say.
Wait, I did say it
before.
Wait, and not relevant, not reachable, not. Oh no, my memory. Sometimes my immediate short-term memory is not very good.
A is something you can get.
Acceptance. A new car. Wait.
You obviously
auto insurance.
Yeah.
Attainable is.
Attainable. I did say that.
Same thing
I said achievable.
R is realistic. You did
But
say
what's the
realistic.
difference between those two?
Attainable.
Attainable is that it is.
I guess they are. They kind of have the same thing.
They just had to make it smart.
Okay, so wait, so
you couldn't call it
specific,
smart.
Just
a
synonyms
specific goal,
for
a measurable.
realistic.
Wait, but it is reasonable.
It's realistic.
Realistic. Okay, then maybe it's a. Oh no, it is different. This is why. Okay, S specific, M measurable, A attainable. Like you are able to do it, so you can make 100K. Like that is. It's like.
Oh, it's like yeah.
Like I want to go to space. Well, that's maybe not attainable. Like of this kind of thing. So like, yeah, you could make 100K. And then also realistic of like, but is it realistic? Like you got fired from your job is this the thing that you are actually going to dedicate the amount of time? It's attainable. You could, but is it realistic? Like, are you actually going to do what it takes to make the 100K? Sure, Addie, you could run a marathon. I believe that's an attainable goal, but is it realistic? Do you actually think you're going to be waking up every morning and going on runs? Like you hate running. You have shin splints. Is it realistic?
And T is the best one.
T is time.
My favorite.
It's a time. There has to be a time. There has to be a deadline. There has to be a time when it's over. But this one woman, Betsy Capes, who does Betsy Capes Creative Coaching, which I highly recommend if you're someone who's trying to get into coaching or any life coaching or wants some help with direction. Betsy Capes is awesome for specifically creative coaching. People who have creative jobs and there's a lack of structure. There's no like 8-year, 10-year plan. So she helps like make you have goals and work backwards to be like, cool, if this is where I want to be in 3 months, where do I have to be at 2 months, 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week out?
That's a good way
today.
to put it. Yeah.
That's what I have to do. Like she like reframed how to like work my brain and my schedule. That's like why I've been like successful. a little bit successful is because of that.
Yeah, but I learned the SMART goals from some leadership class in high school, and it's like one of the main things that I've taken away from high school out of anything else.
But she adds an E to it.
Yeah, that's
She's smarty,
Oh,
because
okay.
E has to be exciting.
Oh yeah,
It
it's
has to
gotta
be a goal
good.
that's exciting you.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes people don't do that. Sometimes people say like, I want to run a marathon, and it's specific. I want to run a marathon by this time next year. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, especially like if you're someone who's like, I've run it before. There's a time deadline, but is it exciting?
Yes.
If it's not,
I love marathons.
except for this guy, you know what I mean?
It's a great conversation starter.
Hayden and I ran a marathon.
There you go.
we did
And I will never.
on our graduation day.
That
It
is
was-
so
did?
cool.
It was the day before our graduation.
Wow.
We
Yeah,
ran
it
and then we walked the day after.
Crazy.
It was fun.
Barely, yeah.
Yeah, hobbled.
Cool. That's sick.
Yeah.
Okay, smarty.
Number 3 was, have you listened to this podcast before?
No.
Because
don't really listen to
one of our
podcasts very much.
questions is like, where do you want to be in 10 years?
Oh,
So
really?
look out
answered
for that, because that's now maybe we make a SMART goal for your next
Look
10
out.
years.
Look out for that in the next 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I'll tell you about regarding the Addie Show. I'll be accountable with everybody. These are my goals for the Addie Show. Is by this time next year, when the link goes live, I want it to sell out. Like the ticket link will drop, people will be waiting because enough people will have been to the show, enough people who love the show and find that the show is something that really brings them joy and is something that they really want and need to be at every month, the way that like I need to do it every month. And like by next time this time next year, I think enough of the right people will have found it. So that the link drops, it sells out, and that tickets are about $30 each, so that it can add into the prop fund. Because ideally, for example, if this can happen for October show at midnight, I want people to come in. I want all the lights to be off. So you get a small little cheap flashlight, and everyone has a little flashlight. The flashlights are $5. There's 70 people. That's $350 for a flashlight. Like if that's only $15 tickets. So anyways, math. But
How many people?
150 people. Is,
150 people.
Is the
Because it's always the same.
it's always if it's well, that's how much the Elysian holds if it sells out is 150.
Right, because it would be at the Elysian.
Yeah, at the Elysian. So that's what I wanted there. By February, I want like news publicist people to be at the show, so that if they feel inclined to write a piece, that piece can be out like February, March. It's out of my control whether they write a piece, but it is in my control to make a show that's so cool and so awesome and so unique or so authentic to myself and so specific to me. And if something is very specific to you, that there's only one you, so there's only going to be one version of that. So, and that's what's been really great about building the team out. And I think also by this point, I'll probably have 4 or 5 people on the team with like some executive producers, which are some people who are like angel investors who would then like recoup at like 120% or something like that. Yeah. So really building it out so that then in 10 years, by the time 10 years is here, I will have already done the Addie Show as an off-Broadway run. That's the goal. Yeah, is to like have used this time to develop something that regardless of any TV shows that I'm in or almost in or in but canceled or movies that just couldn't get funding or scripts that were so close to being sold but didn't or Oscar or whatever, all those things that are not in my control. The thing that is in my control is what I do on that stage and the experience that I create. So that's what I mean, like the more of the philosophy of like kind of actually treating now more like film and TV, how I treated those commercial jobs, where it is still like, I love to do commercials. It's so fun. I still get to do the art, get to do comedy. I get to work on a set with a crew and be directed. I love that shit. I get to improvise. I love that shit. TV and film, there probably will be a point where it'll feel like that, where I'm in other people's, unless I'm directing it and I'm writing it. If I get cast in someone's project, that even if I love the project, it's not mine. I'm not editing it. That's going to feel more like hired help. It's going to feel probably more like a day job. A day job that I'm so fucking lucky and grateful to have. But a day job nonetheless, that then I get to take that money and I get to make something that's unique and special to me. Alex Edelman is one of my favorite stand-ups. He just did a great off-Broadway run called Just For Us. And he has been interviewed on the picket lines and has talked about how the work, he was on a TV show as a writer, and the money that he made off of being a writer in the TV show allowed him to then not have to take another job or not be in crisis mode, getting another job so that he could work his 1 hour material and be able to tour it and travel it and not have to make a ton of money because he had savings. And then he's able to then have this great hour to take to Edinburgh and to take for Just For Us. And the woman who wrote Fun Home, like a musical that has been like instrumental in so many people's lives, especially the queer community, she was a TV show writer. And that's like how she made money. And that's a big thing. Alex has this great interview on The Picket. My dad sent it to me. And I was like, that's my friend. Where he's like, you need to be paying the writers and the actors to literally support the arts. Like you are supporting artists. Like you are taking away art when you are underpaying people, especially for their jobs, because then you don't get like, what would some of these awesome actors and writers do if they had, what would they create next? What would, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like what would people who right now have created these amazing works that you don't know took a lot of unpaid time.
Totally.
But they had a safety net because of another job. So,
I get that at all. Like crisis mode does take away all creative
it's really
freedom.
hard. I've had like a horrific summer. It's been really hard. It's been like, and it isn't surprising to me that, I did the first Addie Show in March.
Yeah.
March, April, May, June, July. And then the next Addie Show wasn't until August. And like, there was a lot that happened where it's like, when you're in crisis mode of like, I can't make a fun comedy show. I have to pay rent. I'm in this debt, or I'm really worried about my job. Like scarcity mindset doesn't make good art. And it also doesn't make good, happy people. And that goes back to the universal basic income. Like,
yeah. And that's that renaissance you were talking about. That's when that art kicks in, when that stability exists.
Yeah. And art is so important. It's the one thing, like we have, is there a plant in view?
We got plants.
This plant right here, if that camera can see, we have more in common with that plant than we do with our phones, because that thing lives and dies. Like on a biological, like we live and die, like we live through. I saw this one video where they show like what sound looks like. You take sand on like this metal plate, and you can either run sound, and it like zaps into these shapes, and that's why like sound baths are actually really healing and restorative, is because our body is made of water. So when sound frequencies are near us and pass through us, or the sounds of your mom, like inside, like that kind of that, whatever that sound frequency feeling in your body is, that's been a warm, comforting feeling. Like, that's why we get emotional with music. It's why we are so affected by it, is because it's actually having an effect on our liver or our toe, because it's in our whole body. So like, that, and then art, which is just someone using art to express what life is like living for them, and it can give words and feeling and understanding to people who are also living a life but maybe don't have the words to express it or feel it, and then they hear a lyric, and that's exactly how I feel.
And we get to be kind of a part of that language, that conversation.
I love Mitski. Mitski's such a poet. And she's like, I want a love that falls as fast as a body from a balcony.
Wow.
I want to kiss like my heart is hitting the ground. And it's like, I know what that feels like. That's exactly what I want. Like, that's exactly like that. Or, I remember having a feeling like that. Like there's, I'm holding my breath with a baseball bat, but I don't know what I'm fighting for. I'm not going to be what my daddy wants me to be. That's like a song off of Townie. And like, holding my breath with a baseball bat is like such a beautiful way. Like it's a picture that paints an emotional feeling that makes me feel like you're angry, but you don't know what to hit or what to punch. And I know that I feel that specific type of anger a lot, especially when we have caveman instincts to like, when you feel anxious or angry, there's a fight or flight that comes up because you're supposed to use that to fight a bear or fight a rival tribe person. But instead it's because you got a text from your, current partner being like, hey, can we talk? And you're now in fight or flight, and you want to punch or run or hit or rip or kill. But you're like, it's just my phone. I'm just in my apartment, which I like, which is nice. And I don't want to break anything in here. Like, but it's like a somatic therapy of like punching a pillow or something to get the energy out. It's crazy being alive.
Yeah, anger is a really interesting one, I think, not to go too into one direction here, but
we can talk about anger.
Well, for one, it's very difficult to figure out where to put it, right? Because we're not animals that are gonna like use that on other people. What do? You punch the ground or objects, I guess, or like I think performance is a really good way to put it.
Well, there's literally like somatic therapies where there's like a whole thing on TikTok or Reels of like literally what motion to do, or there are these like heavy pillows that are for throwing down. So you get the feeling of like throwing,
fun.
right? Doesn't feel fun. I've punched the top of my car a lot from the inside. Like I'm sitting and I punched the roof because long story short, a guy was like, I can take that dent out of your roof. And he just like took a hammer and just banged it from the inside up. But what he ended up doing was breaking a lot of that like hard foam. So it's actually a perfect
little
punching bag situation because it gives enough, but it also has enough of like a hit. But I'll punch it pretty hard. And then I go to my restaurant job and I put my hand in ice.
Yeah.
Like it's, and that's, but I'm like, oh, I have to stop doing that. But I'm like, there has to be a better way of doing that because I'm going to hurt my knuckles. But it's that feeling of like, I just want to punch.
It's also kind of like a really beautiful feeling because as somebody that has like trouble expressing feeling, and I had a conversation with my mom about this, like anger is like the like cleanest emotion. There's nothing to unpack. It's the bottom of the barrel, you know. If you're feeling grief, that's like what's under there. There's like the 7 stages, whatever. There's a whole different shades to it. It takes a lot of cerebral energy to figure out what the hell that is.
Oh, I would actually disagree with what you're saying in a fun
for
way.
me, when I get to the point of anger, there's this clarity there, and it feels really nice.
I disagree because I think anger gives us the illusion of power. I think that actually anger is the fool's gold, and underneath anger would be grief or frustration or sadness. And I think it might be this a clarity, but it's like, what are you angry about? And unless you're like, I am very angry about this one thing, but usually it's still like I'm angry because this was a betrayal or a jealousy or a anger. I often feel that anger can be one of the most accepted forms, and we'll let the feeling stop there. Oh, that person is angry. And especially with men, which I am not, so I don't know what it is like to be raised as a man in society, but I did read the book For the Love of Men by Liz Blank. It's really great. Well, you say that kind of jokingly, but there are a lot of things that are really hard about it. I don't know what it's like to be raised in a way where you're not like allowed to cry in public. Like, or the feeling that like you're not allowed to paint your nails, or you're fucking gay, or you're not allowed to care about kids, or like the color pink, or be not very strong. Like girls are allowed to be like frail and strong. Like, even though, yes, I'm not saying that I'm not doing the incel thing where women are really in charge, but women, to be raised and socialized as a woman, you are allowed a lot of emotional freedom, and you're kind of like, sometimes to a fault, allowed to be a woman, but you can never take like your woman card away. Like people would be like, oh, she's just PMSing. But it's like they are acknowledging that there's a hormonal thing happening in your body, and that women do go through a hormonal change, versus like with men, like the highest cause for death in men is like heart attacks in the bathroom, because they'll feel a pain. And instead of like telling anybody, hey, I don't feel well, they'll go, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. And then they fucking die in the bathroom because they're too embarrassed, too much shame to admit that you needed help, which literally everybody does. And my boyfriend and I, he goes angry, I go sad. And sometimes it can be frustrating because the sadder I get, maybe the angrier he'll get, and the angrier he'll get, the sadder I'll get. But it's both kind of where we go, because I think it's like a comfortable feeling, or it's like a more comfortable way to handle those feelings. But I know and I know sometimes it's like when I'm sad, it's because I'm also angry. But when he's angry, I think he's more sad, actually.
Well, it kind of ties in. I never let myself be angry at anything because I'm really afraid of, I'm afraid of my own anger.
Of what you'll do, yeah.
Yeah. Not that I'm like at risk. Like, I don't think I would ever hurt anyone, but I feel like, I don't know, it just feels it's such an overwhelming thing. And especially, I think as a man, it's just, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with it. So that's like the last place I go. And that's why for me, it is clarity.
That's clarity.
Sadness, I have been taught that sadness is okay, and that all these other emotions are okay. But anger, especially as we kind of flip the like masculinity thing and are trying to correct that, anger is a really not okay thing for me to feel as a man. So,
don't raise your voice at me. Don't yell at me. You're yelling at, or don't raise your voice. Don't yell. Whoa, whoa, scary, scary.
If I'm angry, I'm instantly scary, and I don't want to be scary.
I've been through like 4 friend breakups.
Yeah.
at a certain point, that's a me problem. You don't go through 4. It's not normal to be breaking
you
up.
I think you have a lot of friends
Well,
too.
yeah, but these are like a girl who I'm really best close friends with, and we're like, I would do anything for this person, and then I break up with them. Like we break up. There's no slow phase. There's no de-escalation. There's not a lot of like, hey, let's talk about this. Well, maybe let's like try our friendship in this other different way. It's like very black and white. Like I'd had 4 of those before I moved to LA. And once I got here, and then I found Al-Anon, and I was like, oh, yeah, what is up with me doing that? And that's also me having too high expectations for a person. It's me like putting all of my expectations on one person. So then if, like if one friend isn't everything to me, then they're disappointing me in some way. Like I think I thought that I was a martyr or was such a good friend because I would do anything for this friend, and so they should do anything for me too, or this kind of stuff, or I would be such a good friend that then if they didn't give me very good advice, it was like devastating, or if they couldn't be supportive how I wanted them to be because they're just a person living their life.
Yeah.
And I didn't have another close friend to go to get what I needed. And that's a lot of stuff that I've learned in like being in a polyamorous relationship is like,
Yeah, it's like a codependent.
well, it's up to
relationship
me
with
to
your
get
friend.
my needs filled.
Yeah.
It's not up to anybody else. They can't know. I'm the only one who can know what my needs are.
Yeah.
And as like an extrovert with ADHD, as an only child and an actor and a performer, like sometimes I need an Addie night, which I think I met
You
you,
did get
guys
into
on
it.
an Addie
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And an Addie night is like, I go solo, alone to a place. I meet strangers and I like talk to them, befriend them. I like need that.
Yeah, this happened because of a meeting Addie at a bar.
Yeah. I was just at Zebulon. I think I went to Zebulon by myself because I was like, I just need to go out and like meet people. And then I was like, I guess I'll just look for someone who has a cigarette because it's Zebulon. I don't buy packs of cigarettes, but I'll like socially smoke it. I'll definitely do it for this reason. I'll be like, I'll smoke a cigarette to make a friend. Absolutely. And then I asked you guys for a cigarette and
none of
you
us
guys were
had a
like, we don't have it, but cool backpack. And then we all just started
Yeah.
talking, or a cool shirt. Yeah. I was wearing Outcast shirt and you were like, I'm
It
from
was fun.
Ohio. Who said who's from Ohio? Someone was like, are you from Ohio?
Was anybody? No, we're from Oregon. Most of
Oh,
us.
Oregon. You guys
Yeah.
are, is
One
that
of
an
those.
Oregon shirt? And I
Oh,
was like,
that's right.
no,
I
it's
thought you were wearing an
Outcast.
Oregon shirt.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, no, it's Outcast. And you guys were like, oh. And I was like, do you have a cigarette? You guys were like, no. And then I was like, well, what are you guys doing? And then
Well, we have this podcast.
and by the end of it, I talked to them long enough that they were like, well, if you're gonna talk this long to us, we might as well make it for content.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate all of this, and you're doing so much. And
Hey,
it's,
thanks.
yeah, it's nice to get you on. I know you have something
yes.
coming up.
Yeah, I have. Let's see, it's 7:37. Let's see how far away.
So I'll wrap this up.
Okay, cool.
Just with it's similar. I mean, we have a 2-part question. One you kind of already answered,
Yeah.
which was the 10-year. Where do you want to be in 10 years?
Yeah.
And that's. I mean, you kind of had that.
I am just going to check what the address is so I can put it down.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm listening. Mm-hmm.
Well, the the part 2 of this is so we like to have this as like a little time capsule for you of like this is
fun.
who you are right now, and in 10 years from now you might be someone different. And
True.
this is we
Absolutely.
would like to give you a chance to talk to your 10-year self and say what you want to say. So this is your moment. You talking to yourself in 10 years.
That's going to make
Whatever
me
you wanna
emotional.
say.
And I found the address. Okay, and I'm 20 minutes away. Okay, great. So after this question, I'll leave. Let me just start that. Okay, cool. Well, I think about this a lot. So I make videos for myself to watch later sometimes. Like I'll just be honest with where I am. So this is what I want to say to my 10-year-old self or 10 years later
10
self.
years from now.
And everyone's going to hear this right now.
Yes.
It does go on the podcast. But
Well, then how much of a time capsule is it if I can just listen to it every year?
You're not.
I'm not,
Yeah.
says this guy. Okay, 10 years from now, I would say, hey, thanks for not killing yourself or for getting killed. Both things that could
don't
happen.
do those things.
Don't do those things. Well, one of them isn't as much in my control as the other.
But
Car
avoiding.
accidents.
avoiding
Yeah.
those
So
things,
good. Yeah. Good way to survive and stick in there. And hey, if not, then I hope anyone watching this 10 years from now knows that I had a really good time while I was here. And I hope that, well, I know that you're having a really fun time, whatever you're doing. And if you're not, then you should just remember that that's like the goal and that's the thing. And that's the thing, that whenever you're having a really bad time or not having such a good time, walking around being alive and stuff, that that the whole point of this whole thing is just to have fun, because nothing matters. None of this matters. So you just kind of decide what you want to do. It feels like just a video game. It's like you could go straight to a goal, or you could have fun learning new skills. So I hope you've learned so many skills. Oh my God, I hope you've gotten so much better at stuff that feels so much fun. I know you have. I know you've met a lot of amazing, cool people. I wonder who the person who's been the longest in your life is by this point. Who knows? And I love you very much. And I know you love me too. This is kind of cheating because I talk to my younger self and older self all the time. Sometimes because I'm an only child, sometimes if I feel a little alone, I'll imagine like my 85-year-old self and or imagine like a 45-year-old self and my 13-year-old self like being in the room with me and like hugging me. And both of them being like, isn't she awesome? Isn't she crushing it?
Well, I will not accept cheating. So we're cutting all of this.
Hey, that's fine. Send it to me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Addie, for being on.
Yeah.
This is
Thank
great.
you so much for having me.
This is great.
Thanks for not having a cigarette. I don't need any more of this.
Yeah, we'll have one next time.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Thanks for asking for a cigarette.
Hey, you're so welcome.
Thanks. Great yield.
Hey, great
That we
yield.
got this,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I've hung out with them multiple times. This isn't even the second time.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, you have to
Non-content.
be non-content times. In Los Angeles, you have to go be intentional about wanting to see people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
You have to fight to not be on people's podcasts. Yeah. We forgot to record an icebreaker for this one today.
So we're doing an icebreaker
So
right
this
now.
is it. But it does kind of tie in. We talk about icebreakers in the episode. So
What's
no
your
need to do it.
favorite icebreaker question?
I would
Is
actually
the icebreaker question.
Mine was actually going to be for this one. My haircutter who knows Addie was saying that she feels very genuine the way she performs, and I was like, yeah, it feels like she's like incapable of lying in a weird way. And my question was going to be, what is a lie you told?
Oh dang. I got to think about that one. Do you know yours?
Well, I have the advantage of having been able to think about this. The last lie I told was I said at the La Brea Tar Pits, I said I was a student when I got the tickets.
It works every time. You didn't have to
Works
show
every
an
time.
ID or anything?
Well, they asked for an ID and I said no. And then they said, well, do you have like a student email? And then I was like, oh, I can't log in right now. And I did this whole thing. And finally I was able to wiggle my way into there.
Man.
And I got it. I do have as my student ID though, which doesn't have a date. But
Lying.
not on me that day.
I can't think of it.
You're not
I'm
much
sure
of a liar, huh?
I mean, my lies are just like insignificant. Like I think that the closest thing that comes to mind is like, I truly just don't want to hang out with somebody. So I would text like this
Oh, yeah.
happens ever so often. I'm sure a lot of people do this, but I'm just like, hey, I'm just really booked today. Super
Oh yeah,
booked.
and
then
I always say I'm always booked.
yeah, it's the word is booked. I'm not
Well, also
playing
with-
Boulder Gate 3.
Yeah. Also
Or a
with
video
people
game.
with people asking if you are working, you know, you never say you're on vacation. You always say you're booked because it makes you seem like you're a robot.
That's right. Educational.
Yeah.
This educational podcast. We're learning a lot here.
Yeah. And we're about to learn a whole
lot
more.
So tune in and get ready for whatever we talk
Tune
about.
in as in don't turn off. At this stage of listening.
Don't turn that dial. We're going into outro. I mean,
doing an
we
outro
don't
again.
usually. I mean, I've just been kind of adding in like the guest outro.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah. But I guess we don't have that this time, yeah.
But now we get to talk about things. We recently just took away the outro because we found that we were just repetitive. We were just saying the
Yeah.
same things over. Like, wow, that guest was really great. And it was true. The guests are really great, but we're going to
start talking about repetitive things again. It just feels like there's been some time.
So it's time.
Our guest is really great.
Our fans have been wanting a callback of the outro. Thanks, Dakota. And
special outro guest.
That's our out. Let's talk about what's your favorite thing about Dakota.
My favorite thing about Dakota, our listener, Dakota,
one of our listeners, great friends of ours.
I wrestled him on a while ago. I drunk wrestled him, and he was really strong.
Yeah,
and he kind of has like a nice tan.
That's nice.
These are all physical traits.
These are very physical traits. I was not thinking of going there, but I'll go the other way. Where I appreciate with Dakota that he just does things. He has a very independent lifestyle of like I would ask him what he's doing today or the what he did last week, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I went biking around Griffith Park." And for me, I actually just biked around Griffith Park today because you inspired me, and it was actually really fun. But for me personally, doing something independently has been difficult to just go and do. I feel like, I should be going out and doing something with people or with anything. And I think it's good to have moments where you're just kind of exploring this world.
You feel like you haven't had that
by yourself? I mean, I have that a lot. I think but doing things, I do a lot of things independently of I love reading, I love playing video games. But actually
going out
when I go out, I like to. I mean, I think it's because of being in a pretty big family. I like to do things with people.
You don't just wander around. Yeah,
and that's what I end up doing when I'm alone. Is I just kind of wander around and look at things and think. It's
I always did that, so I'm on the Dakota spectrum.
I know I really like that, and it's something. Well, it's something that I was self-conscious of for me for a while. Of whenever I go out, I don't do anything, but I am that's just how I want to experience the world. I want to kind of walk around and see what everybody else is doing, and just think and
just walk up to groups and what are you guys doing?
What are you doing? yeah, I think we're outroing. That's an outro.
Oh, again.
No, ready for the next one.
How many of these do you need? Are we doing the whole next season?
No, that was next for the next episode.
Really great guest tonight. Let's do the next one. Yeah, really good guest this time.
We do need that. We do need just for a rainy day, just outros that we can do.
Just a batch. Well, we need to do our episodes for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got some rainy days coming up.
Really self-indulgent, and I feel weird about it. But
no, I don't think it. I think it's fine. I think it should be.
I guess, but it's not really either one of our podcasts. It's the Indie Nut podcast, which includes 3, and then the future more people. So it's not we're jerking each other off.
And that is something we do want to include.
Jerking each other off.
Tune in next
Coming
week.
soon.
for next episode.
Coming soon.
Yeah. But including people, I think there's going to be a point in time. I know it's coming. I know it's going to be there, but that Yannick and I are going to be pretty busy. Sam's going to be really busy, and we want the podcast to still continue. So I kind of building this community through our guests, Sam being one of them. She was one of our guests and now is a host. And we want to kind of continue that with having 2 to 3 people as kind of sometimes even guest hosts along the way. So tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah, I guess we don't really have any way to engage with the audience because we don't
have an audience.
We just don't have an audience. But yeah, I guess unlike YouTube where you're like, oh, that's what people thought. It's just it's like sending a movie to a film festival. Unless you win, it was a horrible piece of shit that nobody liked, so the feeling. Because you just you have no idea unless they liked it enough to be in there, but then well, I don't know, why didn't it win this? Why didn't it win that? Or did people like it at all? I have no idea. Like the one guy that with a couple people on the board that accepted it liked it, but was that it? Did it like? It would be great to have some sort of. And that one film festival I did send back a video. Did I show you that? A video.
They gave you a video?
They gave me, it's called the Feedback Festival. They gave me a video of like 10 video reactions of people that watched it and things that they liked about it or didn't like about it.
Wait, like, I mean, this is as they're watching it?
No, that would be terrible. No.
Like someone blankly looking.
Oh. What? No. They had like, you know,
it was like a review or critique or something of a person, like a person giving a review of your film.
They get emailed a prompt or in some way access to this prompt. Well, they after watching the movie and be like, hey, what did you think about the movie? This helps the creators. Please record a video of you giving your notes or thoughts, whatever you want. And so it's like them talking to the camera times 10 different people talking about what they thought and how it affected them, you know, what they got, what they maybe didn't get. And it was really cool to see that there's actually people watching it. Just, you know, it feels like you're just sending it into their website, you know.
But that is cool to get feedback in particular. And
yeah,
it's something
hard to come by sometimes.
We're going to get, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, those 8 people listening right now, they're going to talk to their friends. It's going to be 16. Then they're going to talk to their friends. 16 times what? 16? That's how math goes? It's just exponential.
Hundreds.
Quadratically up?
It's exponential, I think, yeah.
There's going to be a bell curve for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to go up?
No, not a bell curve. A parabola.
There we go.
No. Well, we've already faded.